I don't think I could be any more pissed than what's going on with the censorship on these platforms. First of all, we do not promote violence on others. We do not have to like anybody that is promoting violence on our gender singly. Okay, so there's a long history with white men doing this. And I swear to God, I did a clip on the Tallahook thing because the military, right? So I covered the military's problems from a long time ago, actually, and how government keeps minimizing men harming women and then going out and shooting up the place, right? And so actually what happened was, okay, so I did that. I don't know where it is because I went and searched my archive and I'm missing certain clips, and particularly ones where I'm talking and outing government's conduct. That would be one of them. But I'll check again. But I searched in the titles for different things that I would have definitely put in the titles, and it was not showing up. But I did a thing on a different platform, cutting up the clip and showing what happened during when the Good Morning America interviewed me, right? So then they did that thing on the military the day before or the day after. It was like in that period right there. And Barbara Walters was like trying to act like men don't act like that or something. And I was pissed off about that too. But it's more about the military and their conduct and how they went on TV, right? And they fake presented that this is such an outrage. And then at the end of the day, when you go to Wikipedia where they actually broke down the whole thing, nobody got busted, right? Like nothing happened, right? So then over the course of years and years and years, they had been raping and harming women, beating them up, and they knew it and they promoted it and they give them guns, right? So saying you're going to remove guns is just idiotic and just a moot point, mostly when you're talking about military people. And so then I got assaulted in 2000 and, what was that, 2009? 2009 by another military guy and from Camp Pendleton, and they let him escape, right? So he was on probation for beating up women. So they already knew that, right? And then they didn't notify me that the guy is on probation to begin with and allowed him to have machetes. He had a machete hidden in the house, right? And then the cops come to me and go, "You're lucky." And it's like, what do you mean I'm lucky? And then they end up letting him flee, right? And then because he's under their watch already, so it's not even a thing where it's some random military guy and he hadn't been in trouble yet or anything. He was under probation with law enforcement, whatever, and he was supposed to show up in the morning, and the court gave me an order to get a protective thing on him. And so I had an emergency thing on it, and then they were supposed to help me serve him in the morning, right? So they said he's supposed to show up to his probation officer in the morning. And then they said, we'll call you back when to come, right? Nothing, right? Nothing, nothing at all. So then that would mean that he fled his probation officer thing. And so then there would be a warrant out, right? But nobody dropped the case, right? It wasn't a thing where we're like, oh, don't get him in trouble. I'm sitting here going, okay, we need to get the hell out of here because they don't know where he is. And he probably fled because if they didn't call me back, that means that he's a no-show, right? And he had a warrant out when he fled the scene, to my knowledge of what they said, right? So there was a whole thing with that. And then right after I posted that about that story, and then I went, this was the craziest thing. So he's on probation, but he was selling axes, handmade axes. And he probably made his own machete, you guys. And he's selling axes and things like that and then calling him an award. And so he's like a violent offender and they're letting him create weapons to sell to other military guys, right? And then, so they're fueling him, right? They're paying him, right? So they're giving him a life, right? To be able to do this. So he now harms 2 different women, right? And then he's on the run. So I'm sitting here going, okay, so you knew exactly where he was. So I'm just outing all their stuff. So I told you, these guys have bunk accounts a shitload of them all over YouTube, and they're just like bunk accounts, like they just collected a shitload of them, and they come and they harass me, and they'll gang target me. I mean, a whole bunch of groups have been doing this. Some of these are so oddball that they just come at my channel. So then what they'll do is probably go in the background and start like, you know, just, you know, complaining, like doing fake complaint things. And so what happens with me is like, I don't even care. Like my thing is I don't even pay attention to, I try not to pay attention to views. I try not to pay attention to those things because at the end of the day, I really don't care what other people think of it, other than I really hope that people listen to the message. And it's not going to be popular because we're hitting on a cult of people, right? And people with personality disorders, right? In the mix of this. And so you're going to notice in this media coverage of this stuff, their focus on guns is so bullshit. Like they're not even denouncing, they're condoning the violence on women. So they're not even giving that a second thought, like in this whole thing. Because you'll notice in a lot of these mass shootings, they're mostly white men. They are targeting women. They have a personality disorder, which is ASPD. Those three things, okay, are major. And then military, right? There's been multiple military guys. It is not PTSD. That is absurd. Because if it was PTSD, then you would be seeing a tank of women doing it, okay? You're not seeing that at all. And there are women in the military, by the way. So you're not seeing women doing that. So there's these things where it starts narrowing down on the culprit to what is actually causing this. It's not the guns. You should hope that you could sit in a room with somebody that even had a gun and not be worried about it, right? I mean, it may accidentally go off, but I mean, that you're not worried that some guy's going to have a flip out and shoot you, right? So it has nothing to do with that. So prior to a lot of these things, these men had then now they're calling it mental health issues. Like I said, the PD is actually different than mental illness itself. And they're trying to equate it with things like schizophrenia and PTSD, these things that have nothing to do with it, depression, doing that shit. Now, depression is part of the cluster that we've seen. I'm going to say that we've seen because I keep pulling up the cases. Part of that PD, right? So it's maybe just one of those things that just automatically comes along with it in this cluster of things that they have. But it's not from depression, because that would be horrible to sit there and say that depressed people are going to go out and shoot up the place. That is not true. That is false. And same with the schizophrenic thing, because the schizophrenic would have a hard time kind of even, now he might have it too, you guys, but it wouldn't be from that. It's like, that could be an addition that he has, but you can't blame it on that, because it would mean that all mass shooters had schizophrenia, and then you'd have to come and prove that. And that's not true at all. All mass shooters have that PD for sure. So they have ASPD, they're sociopaths, right? So all of them do, because part of the thing in this, they're also compulsive, but the action of doing the mass shooting is not actually compulsive. It's actually a thought out thing. So it's a calculated event, and they are looking at people as objects, right? So it's a much more in-depth, it's a much more layered problem, and it has to do with men. And it has to do with white men in general, even though they like to pull up, oh, women killed somebody over here, or so-and-so over here. You do not see these mass shootings from women. What you are seeing, though, is their abuses on other women when they were little, and you are seeing them become somewhat violent, but they're still not doing that. But I was saying you should be worried, because if this continues on, you can see a pattern of that. Them abusing gender, anything, you can see a pattern of that if they abuse that kid. So that we do know for sure. Why my videos are getting muted out, I have no idea. There's no, it's not breaking any rules. I'm not promoting violence. We are talking against violence. And no, I do not have to say anything nice about people that rape me. Those are hate crimes. And it's being promoted by government. They did not denounce the rapes and the violences on women. They, in fact, knew this guy, the shooter, was a violent man on women, and they were fine with it and handed him a gun. And then they let him train and teach shooting, right? So that, and then so their focus then again is on guns. No, it is not. It needs to be the focus on your bullshit with women. period, because that's about the male supremacy, right? The white. Mm-hmm. And I loved it. I was like literally on Daily Mail, and one person goes, man, these white men are violent, something like that, right? And I go, yeah, that's true. That's factually true that they've been the biggest abusers on planet Earth. And they had the most hate by posting that. And it wasn't me that put that, by the way. I don't actually post on Daily Mail. I read on Daily Mail, but I don't post on there. Had like 6 likes and then like 100 hates, right? And I go, that's funny. I mean, they don't have a mirror or what? They're having this outrage over what happened in Israel or whatever with that whole other attack. And yet here they promote it on women here, but they're pretending like they're outraged in another country. And then they're okaying and promoting femicide here in the United States, right? And you'll see this dual thing going on. It's a fake crusade. They're like, oh my God, you can't say anything bad about that. You can't promote that thing there. Oh, but here in America, you could promote it on the American women. So this is me getting pissed off at all of it, just like all of it, because it has to do with the muting down of women and the violence on us, them sitting there promoting it. They did not denounce it. They've been condoning it. And they want to take all the blame onto an object. Okay, an object didn't do it. So that's the obvious thing to it. And so it didn't stop anything here, right? It's the mentality, because when they start talking about it, they're like, oh, we saw these signs. We totally avoid that guy. It's like, oh, okay, so then you just totally allowed it and you were totally fine with him harming women. Yeah, that was the number one thing, right? So then what does he do? So the thing in the media is what they're saying is that he allegedly went out looking for his ex-wife. So basically he went out to go shoot her and he's going to take everybody else out with him. Yeah. And that is not from schizophrenia, by the way. That's a very calculated move. That's not, oh, I'm in a middle of a episode and I don't know what's real and what's not. That's not what's going on here. So he could have it on top of it, but that action there is not from it. And do not be spreading around it's from PTSD. That is absurd. And we're not going to have a popular opinion because the public is dumb. So I don't expect a million, cuddle likes up in here, because I know I'm tackling the thing. The social norm is a sociopath. So if I'm tackling the social norm as being psychotic, I'm not going to be popular, right? One of the things was I said that they had some neo-Nazi here in YouTube and wanted to sit there and tone down and totally take off a clip of me talking about these neo-Nazi dudes and in government, right? Right before the whole Trump shit, right? And then I'm sitting there like, I don't even know how did I break any rules? I'm actually telling the public what they did to me and that they're neo-Nazis. And then the next thing that happened the following year was me at a synagogue and there's the cops, right? And then what followed along was all those other things happening, right? And then they outed that, yeah, there was a bunch of neo-Nazis and gang members and stuff inside the government. Yes. Nothing, there's no conspiracy stuff here at all. Everything's factual and by opinions and by things that have happened to me. And so, no, those would not break any rules. Things that would break the rules is me promoting to have people target other people and promoting violence and this ideology. But YouTube's actually been promoting that ideology and allowing and promoting the violence on us as a gender. So, no, how come it's not okay? You can't be going on here about being pro-Hitler, because then they start, calling a hate speech and all this stuff, right? But why is it okay to target an entire gender? Because the catapult to that neo-Nazi thing is from our gender. It could not have happened without it. So, and just hear it proves it. He went after a woman and then he wants to take everybody out, right? So what's his problem, right? There's no way to fix this military problem. None. And for some reason, I'm posting in the comment section on my own goddamn channel and YouTube is muting my own comments? Why is this going on? Why is this going on, YouTube? What the hell is your problem? It was weird because I put a post with this new story in it too. I go, see, here's another story. that goes along with the shooter. It's another military guy. Same exact shit right here. Him, the gay monster guy, that Herb guy, and this other shooter are all the same. They're all the same. The same background, the same everything, and they're fucking white. And they have problems with women. The other one's a gay in a closet. These two could be too. And the thing is that this guy right here, Aaron Pennington, sat there and thought about shooting and killing his wife, goes and kills her, and he's an Air Force, where is it? He's an Air Force, it says in here, Air Force veteran. And he's also on the run. These two stories came out back to back. And he's on the run. They don't know where he is, along with the other mass shooter. They're both governments, militaries. And that is what is included in the child abuse thing with the military background and parents, right? Government has promoted this conduct. It is the most unhealthy thing ever. It's a personality disorder, and they may have mental health issues on top of it, but the mental health issues are not what made them do this. To say that any of these other things like depression cause them to go target our gender is bullshit. Is bullshit. And the gun thing is a cop-out. Of course the guy shouldn't have a gun because he's violent. But the gun thing is a cop-out for them to not focus on themselves. They were liars. So in the 1991 interview, they pretended that this was a major problem and that they were going to take care of it, and they did nothing, right? So they continually minimize the violence on us. That's my point I want to say today. It's infuriating me, and I don't have anything else to say about it right now, but it's their fault. It's the white man's fault, right? They don't want to take the responsibility for the shit country that they created. This is a long, ongoing snowball effect from the very beginning. Their bullshit, they can't get past their cult mentality about planet Earth. They're sitting there abusing every fucking human being under the sun. And it's white men doing it. They're controlling the, everything, right? The platform, my speech, my fucking underwear. Like, what the dude? And they cannot get a clue and want to sit there and go, oh, guns. It's like, are you kidding? Some of these people don't have guns and they're killing people with different things. You know what's going to happen because we know that the socios very well. You remove the gun, they're going to think of something worse. That's all that's been happening, you guys. That's the historical thing on it. If you go through history and see how atrocious these white men were, it's horrific. But every time something changes or a law comes to pass, they start creating something new, and then they start abusing people in another way, right? So all that's going to happen here is that they're going to start doing something else. That's it. That's going to be the natural progression of this because they are not tackling the problem, which is them, their ASPD, their sociopaths, their male supremacist ideology. None of that. Their child abuse, their fucking goddamn religious bullshit. That whole thing. They don't want to target those things right there. And no, I'm not going to say nice things at people that are terrorists. Are you crazy? Why is it that they force women to act that way towards men? I literally just read this story the other day. Just a really quick tell-off to this, some lady that was part of a watch group when we were all getting raped to shit as children on the, out here in LA, that she had to calm down the mayor because he would get so angry. And I'm just sitting there going like, it's not our job to calm these son of a bitches down. Stop enabling them. Stop enabling them. He had a problem. Why is this woman cuddling this man? I don't know. She passed away. And then they were making excuses because the guy's Italian. That's an insult to us, honey. No. The men are evil because of some other reason, not because they're Italian. They're evil because of their upbringing, and they're using it as an excuse. There's no race or anything that, oh, they were just naturally born violent. No, and it's not our job to fix you. They need to fix themselves. That's not our job. It's not our job to calm them down. Comfort women? Are we doing this thing? LA County. So that woman sucks, dude, because if she's part of any watch group, she watches us all get raped. Like, what the hell? Yeah, that was from 92. That was crazy. I'm not even gonna bring it up here because it's just like I read it. I was like, is this really from 2023? And they were like praising her for calming a violent mayor down. What? I don't know, guys. These people, I literally, I could live the rest of my life without ever being in contact with another human again. These people are psychotic, straight up psychotic. And it's their fault. And it's getting worse as it goes because guess what? They're not targeting an issue. They want to target me. Where am I promoting this type of violence? And where are we shooting up the place?